Hey everyone. If you've landed here, you probably already know that 33 Immortals has left early access and hit version 1.0. And honestly, the game has changed quite a bit since we last talked about it. Thunder Lotus nailed the progression pacing, the relic balancing, and most importantly, the way we build in the middle of a chaotic run with 32 strangers. So let's get straight to the point. I've put together 10 practical tips that will help you gain power much faster. No useless grinding, no trap builds, and no relying on matchmaking luck. Grab your coffee, adjust your headset, and let's get into it. Look, I'll be direct with you. If there's one thing that separates those who struggle in purgatory from those who start dictating the pace of the run, it's the feat level. And Beatriz, that NPC who hangs out in the city, kind of low-key and easy to ignore, is literally the master key to all of this. It took me a good few hours to realize that going back to her every time an exclamation mark appeared over her head wasn't optional content, it was pure progression. The trick is understanding what happens at level milestones 4 and 6. At 4, you get an extra permanent perk slot. It sounds small, but in a game where your entire build revolves around synergies between 3 or 4 perks, that extra slot becomes the difference between I have to choose between survival or damage, and I have both working together. At level 6, that's when things get serious. Weapon upgrades unlock. This changes everything. Your base weapons get variants with unique properties, and you start building strategies around them, not just whatever dropped in the chest. And there's a detail almost no one mentions. Each feat level permanently increases the drop rate of rare relics in chests. It's not a temporary buff, it's not this run got lucky, it's your account getting better forever. I noticed this in practice when, after hitting level 7, I started seeing legendary relics with a frequency that used to be a miracle. You spend less time praying to RNG and more time playing with the tools you actually want to play with. So, do this. Every time you return to the city, talk to Beatriz. Claim the available feats, see which ones you're close to completing for the next run, and play with intention to finish them. It's not grinding for the sake of grinding, it's an investment that compounds interest. Pretty soon, you'll realize you're entering the Inferno with 3 perk slots, an evolved weapon, and chests spitting out relics you previously only saw on the wiki. And then, my friend, the game becomes something else entirely. If there's one mistake I see all the time and that I made early on, it's ignoring purple dust as if it were secondary. In 33 Immortals, it's literally one of the fastest ways to get strong during a run. You clear mobs in groups, the bar fills up, and before you know it, it's maxed out. But here's the problem. If you don't spend it, everything you collect afterwards simply evaporates. And that hurts, because the game doesn't punish you with a glaring warning. It just lets you waste resources without you noticing. I've had runs where I could have gotten 2 or 3 attribute upgrades, but because I was focused on following the group or rushing an objective, I kept the bar full for too long. Result: I reached the boss weaker than I should have, even though I played well. So build this reflex. Bar full, look for a purple pedestal immediately. It doesn't matter if you're in the middle of exploration, take a quick detour, and spend it. These attack, health, or empathy upgrades accumulate much more than they seem to, especially in longer runs. It's that kind of silent advantage where, when you realize it, you're already melting elites much faster or tanking hits that used to take you down. For me, this became almost automatic. Full bar equals top priority is to spend it. Because unlike other systems in the game, there is no saving for later. Either you use it or you lose it. And in a chaotic game like this, where every small gain counts, letting dust overflow is basically throwing progress away unnecessarily. If there's one mindset you need to abandon quickly, it's, I'll clear this side by myself because it's faster. It isn't. The entire game was designed to reward you for staying close to others, and the co-strike system is proof of that. Whenever you hit the same target as your allies, the game starts to scale your damage potential in a way that simply doesn't exist playing solo. In practice, this means more crits, enemies falling faster, and much safer fights. But the strongest detail here isn't just the damage, it's the chain effect. The more people hitting together, the faster you fill that cooperative power, and the more purple dust everyone generates. In other words, it's not just you getting strong, it's the entire group accelerating the run. I started noticing this when I stopped exploring alone and started sticking to whoever was playing well. Suddenly, everything flowed better, events were resolved faster, elites melted, and even the bosses seemed less chaotic. You clearly feel when the group is synchronized because the game practically rewards you in real time. So remember this, playing alone in 33 Immortals isn't just harder, it's inefficient. Always look for where the largest concentration of players is and jump into the fight with them. The game wants you to fight in a pack, and when you embrace that, your damage, your progression, and your chances of survival simply skyrocket. One of the things that helped me evolve fastest was to stop underestimating the teleport stone. It seems like just another utility item when you first see it, but once you understand the rhythm of the game, it becomes practically mandatory. For 50 bones at the shrines, you buy something that not only saves your run, but also greatly accelerates your progress within the match. Its great advantage is mobility. Instead of crossing the entire map, you simply throw yourself directly where the action is happening. See an advanced group clearing a torture chamber? Teleport there and take advantage of the collective effort. This saves time, increases your chances of getting better rewards, and keeps you always in the flow of the match, without getting lost or falling behind other players. Now, where it really shines is in the Ascension battle. That stage where the map starts being consumed by fire can turn into chaos very quickly, especially if you're poorly positioned. Having the teleport stone at that moment is literally a survival button. You reposition instantly, escape danger, and can still jump straight back into the fight with the group without wasting time. In the end, I started treating the teleport stone as mandatory insurance. It's not a luxury, it's a priority. Whenever I have enough bones, I secure one, because between saving time, surviving better, and always being in the right place at the right time, this item alone completely changes your performance in the game. That purple gauge above the character isn't just a visual effect. When it activates, you enter a state where you deal much more damage and can take more hits. And if you learn to control that, your performance in boss fights changes completely. The secret is in how you fill that bar. Heavy attacks and abilities are the main contributors, so there's no point in just sticking to basic attacks all the time. I started playing with the mindset of cycling this. I weave in abilities, use heavier strikes, and prep the ground to activate inner fire at the right moment, not randomly. And the best scenario to use this is when the boss is vulnerable, stunned, trapped, or under pressure from the group. That's when the real damage happens. Multi-hit abilities while inner fire is active simply melt the health bar. It's that moment when you feel you went from just another one in the group to someone actually impacting the fight. Once you get the timing down, it becomes almost a game within the game, especially if you're using Path of Honor relics, which amplify this state even further. It's not just about hitting hard, it's about knowing when to get strong. And when you nail that, the combat starts to feel much more controlled, even in the middle of the chaos. You enter a run, look at the available attributes, and think, I'll upgrade attack and vitality. Obviously, it makes total sense, right? More damage, more health, everything a roguelike usually asks for. But 33 Immortals isn't a normal roguelike. You're in a lobby with 32 other players, and this game was built from the ground up to be chaotic, loud, and collaborative. So it makes sense that the third attribute, empathy, is exactly what connects you to all that chaos. Empathy works in a way that seems secondary until you see it in action. It directly increases the effectiveness of your cooperative powers, those abilities you activate by holding the power button and that depend on other players stepping into the sigil with you. The bow fires a rain of arrows for longer. The sword generates a much more durable shield bubble. The daggers extend the greedy strikes. The staff keeps the slow on enemies for a much longer time. Every point of empathy you upgrade is basically multiplying the impact you have on the entire team at once. And that changes a lot in a boss battle. And there's more. Empathy also increases the damage of co-strikes, those blows that happen when you and other players attack the same target simultaneously. In other words, it's not just a passive support attribute, it amplifies real damage in real combat situations, which happens all the time in a game with 33 people, especially against bosses where everyone converges on the same point. The difference between a shield with 20 durability and one with 90 can be exactly what keeps your team from falling before the second phase. So the real tip is this. Don't abandon empathy for the sake of, I'll just upgrade attack. The ideal is to balance the three attributes according to the run's situation, but ensure your empathy grows alongside attack and vitality when interacting with dust shrines. In a game where success literally depends on 33 people playing together, being the player who empowers collective powers is just as valuable as being the one who deals the most damage. Honestly, it's often even more valuable. If you keep switching weapons every run, I'll warn you now, you're slowing down your own progress. In 33 Immortals, each weapon has its own line of feats and evolution, so splitting your time between several seems cool at first, but in practice, it only leaves you weaker for longer. When I decided to focus on just one, the game started opening up much faster for me. The main point is consistency. When you choose a weapon, whether it's the sword for holding damage, the staff for control, or even the daggers for burst, you start to deeply understand its rhythm, the best moments to use abilities, and how to fit it into the chaotic situations of the game. That alone greatly improves your performance, but the real gain comes from progression. Each weapon has its own feats, and when you hit level 6, you unlock upgrades with Eternal Shards. Then, it's not just a matter of playstyle, it's raw power. Your weapon starts having better attributes permanently, and that stacks with everything you've already built. Meanwhile, those who keep switching weapons are still stuck in superficial progression. After I focused on a specific weapon, I felt that true power spike, not because I got better out of nowhere, but because the game started rewarding me for consistency. So test everything in the beginning, fine, but as soon as you find one that fits you, commit. Because in 33 Immortals, specialization beats versatility in the race for power. If there's one thing a lot of people ignore, but that completely changes the way you play, it's the emote system. At first, it seems a bit basic, almost decorative, but when you start using it for real, you realize it's practically the heart of cooperation in the game. And what's most interesting is that it was clearly designed to replace voice chat without leaving the team lost. I started using emotes more when I realized I could completely guide the team just with them. Pointing out the direction of a secret room, marking where an important enemy is, or indicating where everyone should go saves a lot of time. Instead of everyone doing random things, the group starts moving as if it were actually coordinated, even without anyone saying a word. Now, where this becomes even stronger is in combat focus. Marking a Lucido or indicating which boss to attack first makes an absurd difference in collective damage. When everyone understands the target, combos start to fit together much more easily, and the fights even become faster and safer. It's that type of detail that transforms an average group into a truly efficient one. After I got into the habit, it became hard to play without using emotes all the time. They're simple, fast, and work better than a lot of messy voice communication out there. If you want to evolve fast and play smarter, mastering the system is almost mandatory. It's the type of tool that doesn't look strong at first glance, but when you understand it, it becomes a huge advantage. This tip is one of those that seems simple but truly saves runs. Only enter the torture chambers when you're already a bit stronger and have a key in hand. In 33 Immortals, I think it's very easy for a player to get that I want loot now rush, but these rooms punish exactly that anxiety. If you enter too early with little dust upgrade, the chance of getting run over by enemies is huge. The intelligent way to play is to treat the chamber as a test of preparation, not as an opportunity for automatic loot. First, clear everything around it calmly, ensure your character already has a few levels in the round, and only then think about opening chests. This completely changes the room's dynamic, because the real danger isn't the chest itself, it's opening up too much space and ending up surrounded by a wave of enemies while you're still trying to position yourself. And I like this tip precisely because it matches the chaotic rhythm of the game. 33 Immortals rewards good decisions, not just aggression. If you kill the enemies before opening the chests, you avoid that desperate situation of being stuck in the middle of a swarm, taking damage from all sides without being able to react. It seems like a detail, but in a cooperative run, this type of error costs a lot and often makes you lose progress that was already well underway. The rule of thumb is quite direct. Enter the chambers with a key, with some upgrades already purchased, and with your head thinking about survival first, loot later. This makes you more consistent because you turn a dangerous space into a controlled gain opportunity. And honestly, in a roguelike like this, consistency is worth much more than trying to force luck all the time. If you liked Team Fortress 2, Splitgate Arena Reloaded is a game that is highly worth your attention because it takes the essence of the classic arena shooter and delivers it in a modern, fast, and free-to-play package. It was released on May 22nd, 2025 by 1047 Games, bringing back the feeling of arena combat with fast-paced matches and a total focus on skill. What attracts me most to it is that the game tries to be direct and to the point. No factions, no abilities, and no excessive systems getting in the way of the gunplay, at least in the current proposition highlighted by the official materials themselves. This reminds me of the reason why many people fall in love with TF2. It is not just about shooting, it is about rhythm, positioning, and finding your own way to play within the chaos. But the big difference, and what makes Splitgate feel fresh despite already being released, is the use of portals. They completely change the way you think about maps, escapes, attacks, and space control. Because you are never just running and shooting, you are creating impossible angles and opening up plays that other shooters simply do not allow. For me, this gives the game a very strong identity, the kind that makes you remember it after turning off the PC. Another point that helps a lot is the variety of content. The Arena Reloaded version highlights 20 arenas, classic competitive modes like Team Deathmatch, King of the Hill, and Domination, alongside lighter modes like Gun Game and Shoddy Snipers. There is also Arena Royale, a battle royale approach more focused on action and less on looting, which fits well for those who want more intense matches and less downtime. It does not try to copy Valve. It takes the concept of team combat with a high skill ceiling and places it on top of a portal mechanic that changes everything. If your desire is to play an FPS that still delivers that feeling of discovery, mastery, and absurd plays, this is a name that deserves to join your list.